mean, so you talk about pretty crazy high recovery rates and then this long-term recovery rate, which I don't know the terminology, but I would imagine that means that you guys are checking in years after to see if there's been a relapse, and that's a very high rate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just wondering, you know, and just a conversation, somebody told me that, you know, the community knows what it needs, right? So how much was that your initial strategy in the beginning to get folks who went through the program to then be the program? And, or how much of that was organic, and how much is that a part of you guys' success?
I mean, I think part of it was organic. You know, I mean, it just happened because when folks went through treatment and they wanted to be able to give back, which is a whole lot of what we, you know, promote, being able to give back. You know, our Alumni Association, they do a lot of volunteer work. That's a lot of what they do even when they're in the program. You know, they'll be doing, people are giving us donations, and other hand, they're going out getting donations to give other folks. You know, so they would go down to, you know, Skid Row and feed the homeless, and, you know, so again, part of that then just grew out of that. We didn't talk about our vocational program, but we offered on-site drug and alcohol training classes, so folks could get their certificate, child development certificate programs. So, you know, I know Phyllis went through child development. We really encouraged education, so then folks automatically came back to Shields to, you know, apply for jobs, and of course they qualified. So some of it was planned and some of it wasn't planned. How's that? You know, but a whole large number of our alumni, you know, are employed by Shields. We have about 400 employees now, and so I couldn't give you the exact percentage, but in our treatment programs, a whole large percentage of our folks came out of Shields, you know, and I keep seeing them everywhere. Actually, I was at the Compton office of DCFS, and one of our alumni works there now. And so, you know, so I see them everywhere because they stay in the community, which is another big piece. Because a lot of folks think that, you know, you need to pull people out of the community that they're from, you know, that all of those horrible things you hear in the news about Compton and Watts, you know. So we all go there every day, you know, so, you know, they ain't as horrible as folks say, you know, and again, now this was part of the intention. We intentionally purchased, we now own 3 apartment complexes, and we intentionally purchased complexes that were known in the community to be, you know, drug dens, for lack of a better word. You know, because we intentionally wanted to be able to change the community around, you know, and so after 22 years, I mean, that's something that I can say. I mean, we first purchased Keith Village, the park across the street, which is called Looters Park. Well, when we purchased the facility, it was called Shooters Park, because people were getting shot there, like either shot up or shot, you know, every day. You know, now our kids go to the park, you know, like every day, you know, and they play in the gym. We have our graduations there. You know, the building where Delonda and Charlene's office, and Phyllis's office, Anita's office is, that used, you guys remember what that place was? Used to boarded up building, okay? Now there are businesses, you know, all around. So, you know, I mean, I can't sit here and say, yeah, we did that, but yeah, we did that. You know, all the major drug dealers in Compton used to live in Keith Village. You know, it used to be the biggest drive-by, you know, it's like McDonald's, because it's a security, you know, gated community. So all you had to do was drive up to the front gate and place your order. And, you know, and so there's a whole story. Yeah, the purchase of Keith Village. You folks didn't want us to buy Keith Village, you know, namely the folks who were making money off of that. But, you know, but yeah, a difference has been made. You know, that whole area, I wish I would have had the foresight to take all these pictures, you know, of the community before we buy it, and then so that I had something to compare it to now. You know, but definitely the community has changed tremendously, tremendously. So, I don't know, Anita, you're kind of the first graduate, right? I didn't say it that way. I said the first. I didn't say the oldest.
Let's see. My name's Anita. I am a recovering addict. I'm an alumni of Shields. I have worked at Shields for 15 years. This is my 18th year of recovery. A little bit about my background. I grew up in Watson, Compton. My mother died when I was 9, and I was pretty much raised in the streets after that point. So I've done a whole lot of not so good things. And using drugs was my out, because I had nowhere to go. I had no family. My family passed me around from one place to another because no one really wanted me, but they didn't want me to go in the system. So one week I would be with this aunt, the next week I would be over there, and then finally I have one aunt that kept me. But she had boys, she never raised a girl, so a lot of the things that I did, she wasn't sure if it was right or wrong. And I've done a lot of wrong things. I was molested from the age of 9 until I was 13, to the point where I thought that's what my life was supposed to be. I got hooked on cocaine at 16, and I was out there for a whole lot of years. I have 5 children that I actually had. The first one was not drug exposed, but the other 4 were. My life took a change when I got pregnant with her. Actually, I got tired of using drugs, but I didn't know what to do, because I would deliver a drug-exposed child, and they would take my child and they would say, get in a program. But they never would give me the information where to go. So it wasn't posted back then, it wasn't on the TVs, so it was like, where do I go? So I continued to use. And my sister, may she rest in peace, had heard from her sister-in-law about Shields for Families, and she took me there. And I didn't stay, I wasn't ready, but the lady gave me a card, and I kept that card. And then when I got pregnant with her, the further along of using, while I was pregnant with her, I was tired, and I didn't know what to do. I was living on the streets, sleeping on the streets, abandoned buildings. The parks were my best friends, because I slept in the park all night. And when I went into the hospital, pregnant with her, I told God, if this time, because all my children were taken, I have 3 sons, 2 were actually in foster care. One was given to his father, which that's a whole nother story, because he was on drugs also, but he cleaned up real well. Every time they were ready to test, he cleaned up, but he continued to use. I didn't have anywhere to go, so. But what happened, I was tired and I wanted a change. So when I laid in that hospital, I asked for help. And then I remembered that I had this card, and it said Shields for Families. And I called and made an appointment, and actually I had a great social worker at the hospital, because he told me if I went into a program, I could keep her. The rest of my children were taken. And I remember that Monday showing up at Shields. There was 5 of us sitting in a row, and as it was a long day. I had been up all the night before, getting loaded, but I sat there. I didn't want to go anywhere. It's like when I walked through that door, I felt safe. So as the day went on, I would watch the other women leave. And I sat there. They fed me lunch. They let me sleep in the lobby because I was tired. And then the lady asked me, did I want to leave like everybody else? And I said, what for? I said, no. And that was the start of my recovery. My daughter was drug exposed, but I need to tell you, from the time she's hit kindergarten, she's in her 12th grade year, she has been a straight A student. She is my reason that I got up every day and I went to Genesis. But you have to understand, someone like me coming from the streets with no family, didn't feel loved. When I went to treatment every day, I felt like I was home. I would be at treatment before the doors opened, because it was home. I was able to talk to my counselor about everything that was going on with me. I had 2 therapists. I was able to talk to them. I had a grief and loss counselor because I had a lot of grief. I was really angry at my mother for dying and leaving me. I was 9 years old. But I was able to learn everything I never knew. I never had anybody to teach me how to be a mother. I didn't know how. I never knew how to clean up, cook. I never knew any of that. I never had anyone to show me how to do anything. But being at Shields, the women who were women just like me, and because for a long time I thought it was just me. I thought I had the problem, I couldn't get right, but there I was home. There was a bunch of women just like me. So they taught me how to clean, cook, sew, take care of my daughter. When I went into treatment, I had her with me in my arms. She was 3 weeks old. And she went through treatment every single day with me. And I never looked back. That was my blessing. And I heard Kathy say, and I say this all the time, no one that's addicted to drugs ever grow up saying, I'm gonna be a drug addict. That was not the way I pictured my life, but that is what happened. Regrets? I look at it as I've been able to live 2 lifestyles in 1 lifetime, which has made me a better person. Through Shields, I was able to go back to school. Kathy partnered with Trade Tech, and a lot of us got together. We went through Trade Tech, through the PACE program, and I got my AA degree. Then some more of us got together through Shields, and I went and I got my BA degree. And I kept going and I got my master's. And then I got mad at Kathy because she partnered with Dominguez when I was almost done with my master's. Because I went to the University of Phoenix, and I was like, wait a minute, you should have started it earlier. But what I'm saying is through Shields, I was able to grow up. My children have grown up with Shields. I have a son. All of my children except for 2 were adopted out. Mind you, as far as I know, I'm a rare case. I have been able to adopt my own child back. He had to go through counseling. We went through all this through Shields. Now he graduates in May with his bachelor's. He's at New Mexico State. I have another son that graduated from the Los Angeles Film Academy. I have one that's a sergeant in the Army. I have one that lives in Baltimore. I have my children in my life today. There's nothing, I would never give up what I gained through Shields from anywhere. I work at Shields because if I can give just a little bit of myself to encourage another person like myself to know that it doesn't matter where you come from or what you've done, there's a great big world out there and you don't have to settle. See, in my neighborhood, there was no one reaching out to help us. And yes, I was one of those mothers whose child was within those numbers being born drug addicted at Martin Luther King. I was in that number. But it was Kathy Eisenhower and Dr. Beam who put something in place to help us. So I won't ever forget where I come from. but I don't have to go there again. And that's the most awesome thing. She's going off to college. She gets letters every day. She has a pic of all of them. And she was drug exposed. We've been blessed. I've been blessed by God, and I've been blessed by Shields. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So to the persons who think that women cannot recover and get their children back, they need to come visit us, because we do it every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Phyllis again. I've been working with Shield. This is my 14th year, my 16th year for being clean and sober. I'm the youngest of 4, and where my story started, I grew up with 2 parents, 2 great parents, a mother and a father. Being the youngest of 4, I would like to say I had a happy childhood, because none of my siblings, we all not a year apart either. 11 months apart, 9 months apart. My mom and dad got busy real quick and had us. But I had a good childhood, and I think my life came unwind, I would say, like in the early 80s. I went to the service. I lived in Europe for about 2 years. And when I came back from Europe and divorced, well, I didn't divorce him. Me and my husband, he had a different lifestyle than I did. I'm just going to say I married a homosexual, and I didn't know it. So my first addiction was sex instead of drugs. Trying to find myself, then the drug scene came, and I started using cocaine. At that time, I got pregnant with my first son. I was 27 years old. And yes, he was drug exposed. He know his story, my story. And I just, I get a little emotional. I'm just gonna go straight to it. I have tried several programs. I grew up right down the street, and I hear Kathy talking about the community. I grew up in this area right here, and it wasn't much of anything, maybe bridge back on Vernon, it was at 2 spots. And I know how to do a program, the Castle program, I knew how to do a program and get out. In the meantime, I was a lady of the evening, getting in and out of cars, having a lot of babies. I'm the mother of 7 children, 5 daughters and 2 sons. What happened, my last son, he's 15 years old. I relapsed. I had 4 years and 9 months clean. And I was so much denial about being pregnant with my last child. I was 39 years old. And I didn't want to be pregnant. I don't know what I wanted. And I knew, going around, I tried to change my scenery, but what I found out later as I got into treatment, I was just a dry person. A dry person is I was doing everything but not using. And I was so much denial, I used drugs with my youngest son, and I went to labor and I had him. So one more time I got caught up and I had a case with the Department of Children and Social Services. And all my children were detained. Well, let me skip back. My son Jason was detained for me first. I'm gonna go a little bit. I have a family. I think I did a lot of things I did because my family, I feel, was some enablers. And my mom got sick and tired one day of me. I wasn't finished having a lot of these babies. I had 4 drug-exposed babies. My mom packed up and took my oldest son to Texas. I had a sister that's 9 months older than me. She was diagnosed with cancer. I said, where is everybody going? My sister gave me a time limit. You need to get your kids back, or they're going to go in foster care instead of relative care. I love you guys. It just hurt when I speak of my sister, That was my angel. And I just want to say, I just got sick and tired. Family moving away, losing my son. My other daughter that couldn't be here tonight, going to her dad. Seemed like everybody was just closing in on me. And when they detained my youngest son at the hospital, I had a worker come on named Mercy Young, who was working in the Compton office. She told me about Shields for Family. Mind you, when you say the community, everything I ever heard about Compton or Watts, it was bad. I ain't going there. Oh no, I'm down the street. I'm a little bougie. You know, my dad graduated from SC. You know, I'm in UCLA. Yeah, and you know, I'm bougie. I ain't going to Compton. Like I said, my mom, my sister died of cancer. Phil, I'm not gonna always be. They call me Phil. I'm not gonna always be here. You need to get your life together. So I called Charlotte Mills, did an intake. I go in and think I'm bougie. I'm Miss Ed. I haven't had anything since June the 15th. Well, you don't fit this criteria. So I had to turn around and lie and say I had a gallon of vodka last night. Okay, you in. And I want to say that I was so worried about my children, trying to, like, being scared of my mom leaving with my son, and my other daughter going with her dad, my sister sick with cancer, but I went on into treatment. And I was really worried about this last child of mine, you know, because family always got him, and the father didn't want to have anything to do with me, because I hear my addiction from him, the last, the third, the second husband, yeah, the second husband. And I want to thank Miss Charlene. I always thank her. It's because I was so worried and focused about my treatment. I know I needed, you know, my way of thinking started to change as I got into Shields for Family. But I was so worried about my children that she had people come from UCLA to do a Denver 2 assessment on my son. Because I thought something was wrong with him because I used some crack, you know. Because with Jason, I had him at Glendale Adventist Hospital. I went to a training with the hospital there how to care for my son if he had withdrawals. But like I said, I was so busy. The fog lifted, and I had my concerns to child development. Ms. Charlene stepped in and helped me. When I found out Josh was okay, I said, okay, I'm good. And then, who did I meet next? Delonda. I was kind of scared of her. She was actually my case manager while I was in treatment. I had a chance to meet Kathy yet. And the first time I met Kathy, she asked me to come to go to Pacific Palace Verdes to speak on the panel. I thought, huh? What? I was a quiet addict because I was so scared. But I want to say, I went into Shields for Family in Compton, being Compton. I learned so much about myself. You know, once I started learning about myself and knowing where my kids were, they was okay for right now. All I can say is Shields for Family is awesome. And what they did for me and my children, you know, my children were so angry at me. And my family also, some of my family members, they couldn't understand why I had to go into Shields for Family to get my life back. My sister, the one that had the cancer, she didn't want to bring my children there to see me. And I had to convince her and beg her to bring Jamie, Jackie, and Joy there. And once my sister came there and brought my children there, Jason was in Texas, she was so amazed at what she saw there at Key Village. All the women there, the families, you know, that's interacting, kids that interacting with each other. My sister started bringing my children with me. And in that process, Jason started coming and doing this. He came that summer, and he went into the Heroes Heroes program. He was very angry at me. Jamie was very angry. All of them was angry at me. Jamie was really, you see how she looked at me? I know she loves me. But once they started coming on the weekends, because we had treatment from Monday through Saturday at that time. Monday through Saturday at that time. So they used to come and stay all day on Saturday with me. So they had their own case manager, which was Don and Mr. Biddles. We started healing together. They started connecting me with services, you know, for my children, for me, and we just started healing together. And I just wanted to say, it's just an awesome program, and we do recover, and our families do recover. You know, all of my children are doing good. Jason's my oldest. He just graduated from Cal State, LA. Jamie's a licensed beautician. My other daughter graduated from Cal State, Long Beach. I have another daughter. And by the way, Shields is so awesome. My kids know when I'm going through something, they're going through something, they say, we're going to call Shields. Okay. I have two daughters. They wasn't really making it well in school. My 24-year-old, she went through the VSC. She attained her high school diploma there. She went to Texas, and she goes to El Nino College, where she's finished now. She's married. She's on her fourth child. She's very happy. And yesterday, no, just this past Tuesday, my 18-year-old daughter, she couldn't do right in her regular school. She just completed the Jericho program. She obtained her high school diploma. This Tuesday through Shields. You know, my family, my father's an outreach worker for Shields. He's not even on the payroll. He is. He have my cards. He passed to people. I don't know, you don't know how many people my father has sent through. And it's just an awesome organization, you know, and about family. I think if we are addicts, if given the chance and having a place like Shields, we all can heal together. We can be productive citizens, you know. And I have one, that channel I was telling you about, Joshua, he has a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. And what I learned by being in Shields and working and giving back was freely given to me. I had worked in a therapeutic nursery. My son is no longer on medication. You know, I connect him to the schools he needs to be in. He's in a behavior school. He still give me problems sometimes, but I don't really have to medicate him anymore. And then again, I don't know. But I used to be against it, but I got a good understanding of it now. Some people do need it. It's just great. And you know, if you have any questions, I'm nervous. I'm just nervous. That's my life. That's my story. Say something.
Any questions? I really don't know where to begin. So much stuff that's happened from childhood to adulthood. So I really don't know where to jump in at. Any questions? Any burning questions?
Wait, can I say this? This son that was angry with me, when he started seeing me change my life, he came back home to me at 15 on his own. I just want to say that.
That's true, but well, to be honest with you, I was never angry. I was more so disappointed in it.
Right.
And I felt as if I was thrusted into adulthood a lot sooner than I needed to be. And I went through a phase where the whole family, we believed that she was off drugs. And for a while she was. And then when we found out that my youngest brother was exposed, I guess you could say I was somewhat angry, but I wasn't as angry as she or other people may have thought. I just felt let down. You know, I thought things were getting better. I always tried to be the more optimistic one. I always felt like I had to be stronger for everyone because I was the oldest and I was a boy and everyone else was, younger girls, my sisters. So I just kind of went through a phase where I felt stuck, as if I didn't know what to think or how to feel at that moment when I found out she had relapsed. So when she went through Shields and she finished the program and she was coming out, and I would come here to visit, and I realized over time things were in a good place, I did decide to come back. It was a hard choice because I actually had structure where I was living with my grandmother, and went to a good school, had good friends, and it was a difficult choice coming back here, but I did feel like it was the best choice in the long run. So, and I did want to be a part of my sister's lives and my cousins, people that I had a close connection with as a young child, and I didn't realize how much I missed that until I came back. Yes.
Why did you think it would be better for you in the long run to come back?
Well, I saw that there was some stability now in my mom's life and in my sister's lives, and I felt like I was in a position where I can fit in now, and I didn't have to have the adult mentality. I could be a teenager, and we could all be a part of each other's lives, and develop a good bond with each other. Something that was missing, something that I didn't realize till later on that was missing in my life. And I've always thought of myself as a happy child, but over time, I realized there was a lot of anger deep in me that wasn't on the surface. It was more just hidden away. And just from all the years of having to suppress it and trying to be strong. Yes. Yes.
Back there. I'm just wondering throughout that whole thing, this a very hard decision when you, to remove or to not remove a child. But I'm just wondering from children's perspective, you know, you always see that children come back, right? Like way afterwards even, you know, and so I'm just wondering, you know, in that whole debate that adults have about whether or not, you know, what we should do when it comes to bad situations that are potentially dangerous for children. What do children think? What did you guys think during those times?
Well, I guess I would say I felt kind of numb through many of the situations, and when I finally saw the family back together and the kids were living with their mom, and people had more of an interest in keeping the family together when they saw the effort she was putting in, I realized it was a risk that I was willing to take to come back, even though things could have easily went back down the route they were already in prior to me leaving. I felt like it was worth it. It felt good at the time. I trusted what she was doing in the program she was in. And me firsthand being in Heroes and Sheroes, the program for a summer, I got a chance to see what was going on firsthand. It made me feel comfortable enough to come back and put myself in that environment.
Do you still keep in touch with your grandmother?
Yes, I call her about 3 or 4 times a week. I try to fly out there every 6 months. Lately, I haven't had a chance. I've been kind of tied up with work and everything like that, sort of life things. But yes, we're very close, very close.
And she in your life as well?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Her and my grandmother. Yes.
Well, I guess I can answer your question about actually being removed. Because from when I was younger, I remember actually going through the court system and the adoption phases and everything, as far as going to children's court. I then be on the stand and ask, do I want to be removed from my mom? Back then, to me, it was more confusing because I didn't understand what was going on. I knew something was wrong with her, but I didn't know it was actually drugs. And I come from my dad also being on drugs at the same time with my mom, so I seen something, but I didn't know what it was. So when we actually got taken away, it was me and my 2 other sisters. My older sister, my sister that's a year above me, and my younger sister that's under me. So my auntie was trying to tell us what was going on. I didn't really understand. So when I was younger, I was real quiet in my childhood. I didn't know what to do. I was real timid, shy, standoffish. And once I started understanding what was going on and seeing that she was actually coming around, my auntie didn't let us go to Key Village. She didn't let us see her for a while till she actually seen. So I seen, while my auntie wasn't trying to let us see her, she would come around, just pop up, come around when she had the chance to. So from that, it made me start talking more, being more open. And so from that, my auntie did give her a time frame of when we should go back with her. So once that happened, I think it was summertime, we came back to Key Village and we did do the Heroes Shiro program. And from the Heroes and Sheroes program, we did have counselors. They fed us. They took us on field trips to colleges, like little workshops that we would do. What else from what I remember?
They gave us presents on Christmas.
Yeah, we did.
We had nothing under the tree, and
Yeah, that's
some
true.
bicycle people would come and give us presents.
So yeah, we went to different places. I think like Magic Johnson Theater one time. We met some basketball players and stuff. We did a lot of stuff from what I remember in the Hero Share program. And for me, I think I remember the most was the counseling, because if I didn't get the counseling from the counselors there, I don't think I would be able to adapt now of her actually being on drugs. To me, I felt like we was neglected, because for a long time it was just me and my 2 other sisters real close. And then I'm like, I have all these other sisters and brothers that I need to know, and I'm not getting a chance. So I think if Heroes and Sheroes wasn't there to help counsel us, I wouldn't be able to be open to talk to my mom, or even, I wouldn't say I didn't forgive her, but I think I would still be like real mad as a person, or I probably would have grew up like promiscuous, trying drugs, or drinking, or who knows, or not giving a care about school, who knows. But for me, I think Heroes and Sheroes helped me a big part, even for my dad, because my dad just recently got clean about 5 or 6 years ago. So if I didn't get counseling from Heroes and Sheroes, or actually seeing my mom go through the program, I don't think I could have a relationship with my dad, because all while I was growing up, I didn't have a relationship with my dad. I knew who he was, he knew who I was, but I didn't know nothing about him. So if I didn't get that counseling or that experience of actually living in with her while she had the treatment and the counseling from Heroes and Sheroes, I wouldn't be this person I am today. So humble and not throwing stuff at my mom, like, oh, you was on drugs, you didn't care about me. As far as that, I just take it as it was in the past, and just keep on moving on. And that's the same thing with my dad. So that's why I think Heroes and Sheroes and Sister Family was a good thing for her and every other person that, even my friends today, they know what my mom do. And they have a problem for us with their kids, and their kids like child support, stuff like that. They want my mom's number to help them. So I truly think Heroes and Sheroes did a good part on our family and my brothers and sisters, as well as the other staff, and also Anita, which is my godmom now. And from what I've seen, her kids also, you know, me and her older son, we had the same birthday. We're so close. Her daughter, everybody that I've seen that actually accomplished and did everything they need to do through Heroes and Sheroes and Sister Family had a very good success story so far.